In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. The time of their account has approached for the people, while they are in heedlessness turning away.
Commentary. Importance of Surah Al-Anbiya. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, has said that four surah of this Surah Al-Kahf, Maryam, Taha and Al-Anbiya are among the earlier revelations which I value a lot and keep them close to my heart. Quote 2 by the reckoning of the people has drawn near. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 1. It means that the time is near when people will have to give an account of their deeds. Here the reference is to the Day of Judgment, and its approach is in relation to bygone ages, as the Ummah of Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa is the last of them all. And if the meaning of the word reckoning is taken in its general sense, then reckoning in the grave is also included, which each individual faces immediately after death. It is for this reason that an individual's death is regarded as his day of reckoning. For a person who has died, his day of reckoning has arrived. So the latter explanation makes the verse very clear in that the individual reckoning for everyone is not very far, no matter how long one lives, because death is certain and no one knows when it will befall. The underlying message of this verse is to warn those people, whether believers or non-believers, who are in a state of slumber due to indulgence in worldly affairs, unmindful of the certainty that all this will come to an end one day. In fact, it is this disregard of the Day of Judgment which is the root cause of all ills.
No mention comes to them anew from their Lord, except that they listen to it while they are at play.
No new message comes to them from their Lord, but they listen to it in a state of playing, their hearts paying no heed. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 2-3. This verse describes the state of those who disregard the punishment in the grave and in the hereafter and do not prepare themselves to counter it with good deeds. The verse further describes their practice of making light of new Quranic verses when they are recited before them. They are totally oblivious of the fear of God and the hereafter. The verse can be explained in two other ways. One, that they keep themselves engaged in their own amusement and take no notice of Quranic verses when they are recited before them, and two, that they ridicule the Quranic verses themselves,
with their hearts distracted. And those who do wrong conceal their private conversation, saying, "Is this prophet except a human being like you? So would you approach magic while you are aware of it?
Would you then go along with sorcery while you have eyes to see?" Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 3. Those people used to discuss among themselves secretly that the claim of the Holy Prophet about his prophethood should not be accepted, because he was an ordinary human being like all others, and not an angel. On the other hand, not even the most rigid among the unbelievers could deny the supreme charm and eloquence of the Book of Allah, nor its power to influence people when it was recited before them. Therefore, in order to turn people away from the Holy Book, they started calling it magic and black art. They thought that they could keep people away from Islam by labeling the Quran as a book of magic, thereby dissuading people from going to the Holy Prophet and listening to Quran. Probably they used to discuss this subject secretly among themselves, lest the Muslims come to know about their foolish views and unveil their fallacy.
The Prophet said, "My Lord knows whatever is said throughout the heaven and earth, and He is the hearing, the knowing."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 3. For the Tafsir.
But they say, the revelation is but a mixture of false dreams. Rather, he has invented it. Rather, he is a poet. So let him bring us a sign, just as the previous messengers were sent with miracles.
They said, the further Quran is a mixture of hodgepodge dreams. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 5. Dreams having an element of personal and shaitanic thoughts are called. That is why this term has been translated as hodgepodge dreams. What it means is that in the first place the unbelievers called the Quran as magic, then they described it as a collection of disturbed dreams, and then they said it was a forgery and fabrication against Allah Ta'ala to call it His words, and finally they said that He was a poet and the Quran represented His poetic compositions. So let him bring to us a sign. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 5 means that the unbelievers demanded from the Holy Prophet certain specific miracles to be shown as a proof of his being a real prophet. In response to this demand, Allah Ta'ala said in this verse that the same demand for miracles was also made by the people in the past from other prophets, and when their request was met, it was of no avail. They did not submit to Allah even after witnessing the miracles of their choice. And Allah has decreed that people who do not submit to Him even after they have seen the miracle of their choice are subjected to His wrath even in this world, and are destroyed. Allah, in His divine mercy and in view of the honored position of the Holy Prophet, had granted to his Ummah immunity from the terrible punishment, which is the inevitable fate of those people who defy the will of Allah. It was not, therefore, considered desirable to show them miracles of their choice, because if they, like the earlier people, persisted in their unbelief, even after seeing those miracles, they too would invite the wrath of Allah Ta'ala.
Not a single city which we destroyed believed before them, so will they believe?
Then and will they believe? There is a hint that there was no likelihood of these people accepting the true faith, even after seeing the miracles of their choice. Hence they were not shown the desired miracle.
And we sent not before you, O Muhammad, except men to whom we revealed the message. So ask the people of the message if you do not know.
So, ask the people having the knowledge of the message if you do not know. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 7. In this verse, scholars of Injil, Evangel, and Torah are referred to as people of the message who had accepted the Holy Prophet's prophethood. Therefore, what it actually means is that if you are not aware whether the prophets of the past were angels or ordinary men, then you should find out from the scholars of Injil and Torah, as they know perfectly well that all prophets were human beings. It is therefore quite possible to hear the term people of the message refers to all Jews and Christians, even though they have not believed in the holy prophethood of the Holy Prophet ruling. Qutb has said in his exegesis that this verse has made it clear that ignorant persons who are not acquainted with the rules of Sharia must seek knowledge from scholars and then follow them accordingly.
And we did not make the prophets forms not eating food, nor were they immortal on earth.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 7, for the Tafsir.
Then we fulfilled for them the promise, and we saved them and whom we willed, and destroyed the transgressors.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 7, for the Tafsir.
We have certainly sent down to you a book in which is your mention. Then will you not reason?
The Holy Quran is an honor and pride for the Arabs. A book having a good name for you. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 10. The word book is meant for Quran, and name is used here for honor, excellence, and fame. Thus what is meant here is that the revelation of Quran in Arabic language is a great honor and everlasting fame for the Arabs, and they should value it as such. History has proved that by Allah's mercy and by the blessings of Quran, Arabs have dominated the world and ruled over it for a long time. This is also a fact of life. The Arabs gained dominance over the world not because of any tribal or linguistic supremacy, but because of Quran. If there was no Quran, probably no one would have known about the Arabs at all.
And how many a city which was unjust have we shattered, and produced after it another people?
Commentary. These verses describe the destruction of those settlements which some exegetists have taken as fled Hira and Kilaba of Yemen. Allah Ta'ala has sent their prophet, about whose name there are different versions. Some say he was Musa ibn Misha, while others say his name was Shu'aib, in which case he was a different prophet from the one who lived in Madian. This prophet was killed by his people, who were, as a punishment, annihilated by the infidel king Nebuchadnezzar. This king was placed in authority over them, just as he was used as an instrument for the punishment of Bani Israel when they strayed from the righteous path in Palestine. In fact, Quran has not identified any specific settlement. Hence it will be apt to leave the subject open, so that these settlements of Yemen may also come in its ambit. Only Allah knows best.
And when its inhabitants perceived our punishment, at once they fled from it.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
Some angels said, "Do not flee, but return to where you were given luxury, and to your homes. Perhaps you will be questioned."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
They said, "Oh, woe to us! Indeed, we were wrongdoers."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
And that declaration of theirs did not cease until we made them as a harvest mowed down, extinguished like a fire.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 11, for the Tafsir.
And we did not create the heaven and earth and that between them in play.
Commentary. And we did not create the heavens and the earth. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 16. It means that we have not created the sky and the earth, and everything that lies in between them for mere amusement. In the preceding verses, a reference has been made to the annihilation of certain settlements. In this verse there is a suggestion that just as the creation of the earth and the sky and all other created things was according to a set design, the destruction of the settlements was also the result of a definite purpose. Having witnessed the marvels and wonders of creation which are so abundantly spread all over, manifesting Allah's omnipotence and omniscience, do they still think that all these things are futile and without significance? The word is taken from play, which means having no useful objective. Ragged, wild pastime means an act which has no purpose at all except to provide amusement in free time. The disbelievers who argue against the Holy Prophet and the Holy Qur'an and reject the oneness of Allah and deny His power, despite its abundant manifestations, then it is apparent that they have a notion that all this creation is meant for amusement and pastime. The verse rejects this false view and says that Allah's creation is not for fun and pastime. A little reflection will show that even the minutest particle of the universe has its utility, and each and everything created by Allah has a purpose, which speaks by itself for His omniscience and oneness.
Had we intended to take a diversion, we could have taken it from what is with us, if indeed we were to do so.
Had we intended to have a pastime, we would have had it from our own, if we were to do so. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayat 17. It means that if we were to create something for amusement, there was no need to create the earth and the sky, and we could have done so from the things around us. In Arabic language, the word is used for imaginary and non-existent things. Here also it is used in the same sense, i.e. those foolish people who regard all the wonderful things of the earth and the sky objects of fun and frolic do not realize that creation on such a gigantic scale cannot be undertaken for amusement. The suggestion here is that even a person of ordinary common sense would not indulge in a project which has no serious purpose, to say nothing of Allah Ta'ala, who is supreme and exalted. The commonly accepted meaning of is a purposeless pastime, and this meaning has been adopted in translating this verse. According to some commentators, this word is also used sometimes for wife or children, in which case the meaning of the verse would be a denial of the belief of the Jews and Christians, who thought that Say Ibn Uzair and Say Ibn Masih were God's sons. If Allah wished to have children, why should they be from humans and not from other creatures around Him? Allah knows best.
Rather, we dash the truth upon falsehood, and it destroys it, and thereupon it departs. And for you is destruction from that which you describe.
Instead, we launch the truth against the falsehood, which smashes it, and in no time it is nothing. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 18. The literal meaning of is to throw horizontally, which has been translated above as launching means to hit on the head, to smash it, and means something which is gone or vanishes without leaving a trace. This verse explains that Allah has not created this marvelous universe with earth and the sky for amusement. This creation is the result of a carefully thought-out plan which aims at distinguishing right from wrong. Observation of nature's creations leads people along the righteous path and protects them from evil. This idea is conveyed in the verse by saying that virtue is hurled against evil and smashes its head so completely that it disappears without a trace.
To Him belongs whoever is in the heavens and the earth, and those near Him are not prevented by arrogance from His worship, nor do they tire.
And those who are near Him are not arrogant against His worship, nor are they sluggish. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 19. It means that Allah's servants who are with Him, i.e. angels, pray to Him all the time without ceasing. So if the humans do not pray to Him, it will not make any difference to Him, but they themselves will be the losers. It is human nature to judge others by applying one's own situation to them. Hence there are two possibilities preventing a person from offering acts of worship ceaselessly. One, that he regards it below his dignity to bow down before anyone and therefore does not pray to Allah Ta'ala. Secondly, it is physically not possible for a man to worship without a break because he needs to rest in between. In view of these two human constraints, it is explained towards the end of the verse that the angels are free from these compulsions. They do not regard it below their dignity to worship Allah constantly, nor do they get tired or need any rest or sleep.
They exalt Him night and day and do not slacken.
This point has been brought to a conclusion in the next verse by saying, they proclaim His purity night and day, never slackening. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 20. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Harith, may Allah be pleased with him, said that he asked Qutb al-Abr, may Allah be pleased with him, how it was that angels kept reciting tasbih, proclaiming Allah's purity, all the time. Did they not have anything else to do? And if they did, how could they do both things simultaneously? That is, reciting tasbih and do other things. To this Kab replied, O my nephew, does performance of any of your jobs prevent you from breathing? The truth is that tasbih comes to angels, just as breathing comes to human beings, which continues without stopping, whatever else he may be doing. What to? By Al-Mu'it.
Or have men taken for themselves gods from the earth who resurrect the dead?
Or have they taken to gods from the earth who raise the dead? Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 21. Here the ignorance of polytheists is described variously. Allah says how foolish and ignorant the polytheists are, that they have made their gods from amongst the creatures of the earth, who do not have the power of life and death.
Had there been within the heavens and earth gods besides Allah, they both would have been ruined. So exalted is Allah, Lord of the throne, above what they describe.
Only a being which has these powers is worthy of being worshipped. Had there been gods in them, the heavens and the earth, other than Allah, both would have fallen in disorder. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 22. This is an argument of common nature in favor of the oneness of Allah, which is based on common practice. It is also a logical proof of the oneness of God, and a great deal of literature is available to explain it in the books on theology. The argument of common nature is that if there were two gods, each independent and sovereign, then the commands of both would prevail on the earth and in the sky, which is not possible, because it is inconceivable that both of them would have common views on all matters. And if there are differences of opinion, which is inevitable where power is shared, there could be conflict, which would always lead to chaos and confusion. The suggestion that the two gods could consult each other before passing orders has been adequately discussed and rejected in the books of theology. The thing to note is that if the two gods had to take decisions jointly, then neither of them would have been sovereign, and a god with divided sovereignty is not God.
He is not questioned about what he does, but they will be questioned.
The next verse is, he is not questioned of what he does, and they are questioned, probably reinforces the argument that anyone who is answerable for his actions to someone else cannot be God.
Or have they taken gods besides him? Say, O Muhammad, produce your proof. This Quran is the message for those with me, and the message of those before me, but most of them do not know the truth, so they are turning away.
Here is the message for those with me, and the message for those before me. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 24. One explanation of this verse on which the translation is based is that means message, and message for those with me refers to Quran, while the message for those before me refers to Torah, Injil, Evangel, and Zabur, Psalms, the earlier divine books. According to this interpretation, the meaning of the verse is that neither the Quran, which is the book for the Holy Prophet and his followers, nor the older books contain anything to suggest worship of anyone else but Allah. Despite the fact that the text of Torah and Injil, Evangel, have been altered, it is not suggested in either of them that Allah has partners with whom he shares his authority. Another explanation of the verse is given in Al-Muhib, according to which the word dhikr means here description, and the sense is that this Quran is a description for the people who were in the days of the Holy Prophet, which describes for them the rules of Sharia and invites them to the correct way of life. At the same time, it is a description of those who were before the Holy Prophet, because it keeps alive the stories and the traditions of people long gone by.
And we sent not before you any messenger except that we revealed to him that there is no deity except me, so worship me.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
And they say, the Most Merciful has taken a son. Exalted is he. Rather, they are but honored servants.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
They cannot precede him in word, and they act by his command.
They do not precede him in speech, and only under his command they act. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 27. This verse refutes the claim of pagans of Mecca that angels were daughters of Allah. How can angels be Allah's children, when they stand in such awe in his presence that they neither initiate any talk nor act against his commands? They simply await his words and act accordingly. This also points towards an important etiquette of behaving in the company of elders. That is, when a matter is brought forth in front of a group of people, the people, before speaking themselves first, should wait until the elder among such a group has spoken. Speaking prior to the elder is contrary to the manners governing respect of elders.
He knows what is presently before them and what will be after them, and they cannot intercede except on behalf of one whom he approves, and they, from fear of him, are apprehensive.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 27, for the Tafsir.
And whoever of them should say, "Indeed, I am a god besides him," that one we would recompense with hell. Thus do we recompense the wrongdoers.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 27, for the Tafsir.
Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them and made from water every living thing? Then will they not believe?
Commentary. Have the disbelievers not seen? Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 30. Here the word to see, to think, is used in its general sense, i.e. knowledge, whether acquired by visual observation or by way of logical conclusion. The discussion which follows refers partly to actual observation and partly to logical inference. The heavens and the earth were closed, then we opened them. The word rat means to close and fat means to open. When used in combination, the words mean full control in the management and execution of a job. The translation of the verse is that the earth and the sky were closed and Allah opened them up. Different exegetists have explained differently the sense of the words closing and opening, but the meanings which the companions of the Holy Prophet and the majority of the exegetists have adopted are that closing of sky and earth means shutting off rain, fall from the sky, and vegetation from the earth, and opening means the opening of these two, i.e. the rain, fall, and vegetation. The following story about Ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, has been related in Ibn Kathir's commentary on the authority of Ibn Abi Hatim. A man went to Ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and requested him to explain the meaning of this verse to him. He pointed out towards Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and told him to go to him for an explanation of the verse. He also requested him to let him know the explanation that Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, gave to him. The man went to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and asked him what do the words Rakin and Fatekna mean in the verse. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, replied that originally the sky was closed, and there was no rainfall, likewise the earth was closed, and there was no growth on it. When Allah Ta'ala sent down man on earth to live here, He opened up rain, fall from the sky, and the vegetation from the earth. After learning the explanation of the verse, the man went back to Sayyidina Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and repeated to him what he had learned from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. Then Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, remarked that he was then left in no doubt that Allah Ta'ala had graciously bestowed upon Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, a complete knowledge of Qur'an. He further said that previously he used to consider Sayyidina Ibn Abbas's, may Allah be pleased with him, explanations of the Holy Qur'an as bold attempts, of which he did not approve. But now he was convinced that Allah Ta'ala had granted to him special insight into the meaning of Qur'an, and that the explanation he gave of the words was absolutely correct. The story of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, is also reported in Ra'ul-Ma'i through Ibn Mundir and Abu Naim, and a group of the scholars of Hadith, including Hakim, the writer of Mustadrak, who has accepted the tradition as correct. After reporting this narration, Ibn Adiyah al-Afi says that this interpretation is hasan and comprehensive, and is compatible with the text of the Qur'an. It contains a lesson and argument against the infidels, and also mentions about the omnipotence and the special bounties of Allah Ta'ala, which is the basis of His oneness and recognition of His attributes. The following sentence, and we created from water every living thing, also corroborates this interpretation. Al-Bar al-Muhid has also adopted the same interpretation. Qurtubi has declared this explanation to be that of Ikrimah as well, and said that another verse also endorses this meaning. Tabari has also adopted this very interpretation. And we created from water every living thing. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 30. Water is an essential element in the creation of all living things. According to the latest research, it is not only the humans and animals which possess both life and soul, but also plants and minerals. Water plays a very important role in the creation, growth, and evolution of all living things. The author has explained the interpretation of this verse as adopted by many authorities, but the miraculous style of the Holy Qur'an is that the words used by it may have different possibilities for interpretation. The words rat and fat used here have another meaning, which is being compact and being separated. If these words are taken in this sense, the verse may also be translated as the heavens and the earth were compact and we separated them. In this case, the verse will refer to an event of the early creation, meaning thereby that the heavens and the earth were originally a single body. Thereafter Allah separated the earth from the heavens. The contemporary research about the Big Bang is close to this description, but it should always be kept in mind that the Quranic descriptions are independent of any scientific theory, and the Qur'an should not be made subject to ever-changing theories. Muhammad Taqi Usmani Ibn Kathir has quoted Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, on the authority of Imam Ahmad, may Allah have mercy on him, that he requested the Holy Prophet to tell him how things were created. The Holy Prophet replied that everything was created from water. Then Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, asked about the acts that lead one to the Jannah. The Holy Prophet replied, make greeting with salam common between you, and feed others, and observe the rites of kinship, and stand in prayers at night when people are asleep. Then enter the Jannah with peace.
And we placed within the earth firmly set mountains, lest it should shift with them, and we made therein mountain passes as roads that they might be guided.
And we created mountains on the earth, lest it should shake with them. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 31. The word made in Arabic language means to be convulsed. Therefore, the meaning of this verse is that Allah Ta'ala has planted mountains on the earth to hold it in place, because any violent movement of the earth would be catastrophic to those who live on it.
And we made the sky a protected ceiling, but they from its signs are turning away.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 31 for the Tafsir.
And it is He who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon. All heavenly bodies in an orbit are swimming,
each floating in an orbit. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 33. The word falak is used for circle or anything round. For this reason, the word falak is also used sometimes for sky. In this verse it means the orbits of the sun and the moon in which they revolve. The Quranic words do not specify the location of the orbits in the space, but space research has now established that these orbits are located in the space much below the sky. This verse apparently indicates that the sun also moves around an orbit. The scientists previously did not believe in the rotation of the sun, but the most modern research has now accepted it.
And we did not grant to any man before you eternity on earth. So if you die, would they be eternal?
Commentary. And we did not assign immortality to any human even before you. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 34. The preceding verses give a strong and logical rebuttal of the unfounded and exaggerated beliefs of the infidels and polytheists, to the effect that Sayyidina Masih and Sayyidina Uzair are the associates of God, or that Masih and the angels are God's children. Unable to come up with a satisfactory answer to the rational and logical arguments given by the Qur'an, the infidels of Makkah were in despair and wished for the death of the Holy Prophet. This has been mentioned in some other verses also, like e.g. Surah At-Tur, Ayah 30. In this verse, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 34, Allah Ta'ala has given two answers to their pitiable wish. One, that even if the Holy Prophet died early, how would it help them? If they thought that they could use the death of the Holy Prophet as an argument against his prophethood, they were very much mistaken, because all the other prophets whose prophethood they themselves had accepted also died when their time came. Thus, if the death of their own prophets did not alter their position as prophets, how could the death of the Holy Prophet change his position? Secondly, if their purpose in wishing for his early death was only to appease their frustration, then they should have known that death is universal, and everybody has to die sooner or later. If an enemy dies, it is not to be rejoiced, because our own life is not eternal.
Every soul will taste death, and we test you with evil and with good as trial, and to us you will be returned.
What is death? Allah has said every soul has to taste death. Here the word soul refers to the living things of the earth, who must all face death, but does not include the angels. There is a difference of opinion about whether the angels will also die or not on the Day of Judgment. Some say that every living thing will die, though momentarily, irrespective of whether they are of the earth or the skies. But others maintain that angels and hers and gilmen of paradise are excluded from this general rule. Only God knows best. Ra'ul Ma'ani. Majority of the scholars believe that death is the departure of soul from the mortal human frame, while soul itself is a subtle ethereal living thing which is made of light, and resides in human body, just as fragrance resides in the rose. Ibn al-Qayyim has convincingly proved this point in his book. Ra'ul Ma'ani. The term means that every individual will feel the pain of death. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 35. Because considering the manner in which body and soul are conjoined together, their separation should obviously entail some pain. There are some saintly persons who regard death as a deliverance from the trials and tribulations of the worldly life and a means of bringing them closer to their supreme love, that is Allah. This pleasure does not negate the agony of death, because where the reward is high, a little pain is easily tolerated. Worldly comforts and discomforts are a test, and we test you all through bad and good situations with a trial. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 35. It means that man is tested both by good things and by bad things. Bad includes unpleasant things such as illness, grief, pain, poverty, etc., while good means desirable things like good health, happiness, comfort, and abundance. Man is subjected to these conditions in this world for test, and the test is that he should show patience and endurance in the face of adversity, and should offer thanks to Allah when his life is peaceful and comfortable. Wise men have said that it is more difficult to be steadfast and consistent in offering thanks to Allah for his gifts than to persevere and show patience in difficult circumstances. Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, is reported to have said, "We were tested by discomforts and we bore it with patience, but when we were tested by pleasures, we could not observe patience, i.e., we could not offer gratitude to Allah as was due." Ra'ul Mani.
And when those who disbelieve see you, O Muhammad, they take you not except in ridicule, saying, "Is this the one who insults your gods?" And they are, at the mention of the Most Merciful, disbelievers.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 35, for the Tafsir.
Man was created of haste. I will show you my signs, so do not impatiently urge me.
Haste is undesirable. Man is made of haste. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37. Ajal means haste or hurry. The word is used in situations when one desires things to happen before their time, and this trait is bad by its very nature. In another place also the word is used to denote human weakness. For instance, i.e., man is prone to haste. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 11, meaning that he is very impatient. When Sayyid ibn Musa went to the Mount in a hurry, leaving his people behind, he was censured by Allah Ta'ala. Prophets and the devout people who try to excel each other in the performance of righteous deeds have been commended, and their zeal to do good deeds does not constitute haste and hurry, because they do not try to do these deeds before their time. In fact, they do the deeds on time, but try to excel each other in quantity and quality. Here, man is made of haste. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, means that haste and hurry is one of the many weaknesses which are inherent in human nature. When a man is identified by some intrinsic trait of his character, the Arabs used to say that he is made of that trait. For instance, a short-tempered man would be called the man made of anger. I shall show you my signs. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37. Here the word signs refers to those miracles and events which bear evidence to the honesty of the Holy Prophet and the truth of his message. Quatubai. These miracles also occurred during the Battle of Badr, when the Muslims who were considered weak and worthy of contempt gained a great victory over their enemies.
And they say, "When is this promise, if you should be truthful?"
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
If those who disbelieved but knew the time when they will not avert the fire from their faces or from their backs, and they will not be aided.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
Rather, it will come to them unexpectedly and bewilder them, and they will not be able to repel it, nor will they be reprieved.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
And already were messengers ridiculed before you, but those who mocked them were enveloped by what they used to ridicule.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
Say, who can protect you at night or by day from the Most Merciful? But they are, from the remembrance of their Lord, turning away.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
Or do they have gods to defend them other than us? They are unable even to help themselves, nor can they be protected from us.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
But on the contrary, we have provided good things for these disbelievers and their fathers until life was prolonged for them. Then do they not see that we set upon the land, reducing it from its borders? So it is they who will overcome.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
Say, I only warn you by revelation, but the deaf do not hear the call when they are warned.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
And if as much as a whiff of the punishment of your Lord should touch them, they would surely say, O woe to us! Indeed, we have been wrongdoers.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
And we place the scales of justice for the day of resurrection, so no soul will be treated unjustly at all. And if there is even the weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it forth, and sufficient are we as accountant.
Weighing of actions on the day of judgment, and the scales to be used for this purpose. And we shall place scales to do justice on the day of judgment. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 47. The word is plural, of which means a scale. In this verse, the word is used plural, which some exegetists have explained by saying that for measuring deeds and actions of people many scales will be used. Different balances may be used for different individuals, or different balances may be used for different types of deeds. But majority of scholars agree that there will be only one balance to weigh all the deeds, and that the word has been used in plural because it will serve the purpose of many balances and measure the deeds of all the children of Sayyidina Adam from the earliest time to the day of judgment, whose count only Allah knows. Qist means justice and fairness. Thus the meaning of the verse is that the balance will measure fairly and justly, and no injustice will be done to anyone. Mustadrak of Hakim has reported through Sayyidina Salman that the Holy Prophet said that the balance that will be used on the day of judgment for weighing deeds and actions will be so enormous in size and span that it could enclose the earth and the sky within its fold for measurement. Mashari Hafiz Abu al-Qasim al-Qad has narrated in his Sunan, through Sayyidina Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet said that an angel will be posted on the balance and every man will be brought before it. In case his good deeds overweigh his sins, the angel will announce loudly, which everyone present will hear, that so-and-so has passed his test, and now he will never be deprived of anything. And if the sins of a person overweigh his virtues, then the angel will announce that the wretched so-and-so has failed his test and has been made destitute forever. Hafiz has also reported on the authority of Sayyidina Hudhayfa, may Allah be pleased with him, that the angel who will be posted on the balance on the day of judgment is none other but Sayyidina Jibril. Hakim, Bayhaqi, and Ajuri have narrated through Sayyidah Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, that she inquired from the Holy Prophet whether he will remember his family members on the day of judgment, to which he replied that on that day there will be 3 occasions when no one will remember anyone. Firstly, when people will be brought before the scale of justice for the weighment of their deeds, until it is known whether one's virtues overweigh the sins or otherwise. Everyone would forget everyone else. Secondly, when the records of deeds will be thrown in the air, until they are either placed in the right hand, which will be a sign of salvation, or in the left hand or from behind, which will be a sign of punishment. It would indicate God's wrath. Thirdly, the occasion to cross the bridge of Sirat, i.e. until this bridge is crossed, no one will remember anyone else. Mahari, and even if any act, good or evil, is to the measure of a mustard seed, we will bring it forth. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 47. It means that on the day of reckoning, all the deeds of every person, big or small, good or bad, will be brought forth so that they may be subjected to reckoning and weighment. Method of the weighment of deeds. One possibility is that deeds and actions of a person recorded by angels will be weighed as indicated by the famous hadith generally known as Hadith al-Baitaqal. The other possibility is that deeds of a person will be converted into absolute substances which will then be weighed. By and large, the traditions support the second view, and a majority of scholars have adopted this version. The verse, and they will find what they did, all their Surah Al-Kahf, Ayah 49, and the like in the Holy Qur'an, and many traditions also confirm the second view. Accountability of deeds. Tirmidhi has reported through Sayyidah Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, that a man came to the Holy Prophet and narrated to him that he had 2 slaves who called him a liar, were dishonest in their dealings, and did not obey his orders. In retaliation, he scolded them and also beat them. How then would his chastisement of his slaves be judged in relation to their misconduct? The Holy Prophet replied that their misdeed would be weighed against the punishment which he inflicted on them, and if the 2 were equally balanced, then the matter would rest there, but in case their crimes exceed his punishment, it would be regarded as a favor bestowed on them by him. But on the other hand, if the punishment awarded to them exceeded their misdeeds, then he would be made subject to punishment and retaliation for his excess. Then the man rose and sat down in a corner and started weeping. The Holy Prophet asked him whether he had not read this verse, and we shall place scales to do justice on the day of judgment, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 47. Then the man said that he had no choice but to free his slaves so that he might escape accountability. Qutubi, the author, has referred here to a long hadith in which it is mentioned that while reckoning a person's deeds, a card will be placed in the balance on which the kalima will be written. This card will weigh more than a heap of bad deeds. Muhammad Taqi Asmani.
And we had already given Moses and Aaron the criterion and a light and a reminder for the righteous.
Commentary. Criterion and light and an advice for the God-fearing. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48. The 3 attributes which belong to Torah are criterion, which differentiates between right and wrong. Second is light, which provides light and manifestation of truth to hearts. And the third is advice, which is a source of guidance for the people. Some explain as help from God, which was available to Sayyidina Musa all times. It was manifest when he was raised in the Pharaoh's house, then at the time of his contest with the Egyptian magicians, which resulted in the Pharaoh's discomfiture, and again when he was pursued by the Pharaoh and his army, and Allah saved him by causing dry passageways to appear in the river, and after the Bani Israel had crossed over to the other side, by drowning the Pharaoh and his army. Even after this incident, Allah's help was available to him at all times. Qutubi has pointed out that whereas light and advice are the attributes of Torah, criterion is something else and not an attribute of Torah, because of the use of the conjunctive letter wa. After the word Allah knows best.
Who fear their Lord unseen, while they are of the hour apprehensive.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
And this Quran is a blessed message which we have sent down. Then are you with it unacquainted?
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
And we had certainly given Abraham his sound judgment before, and we were of him well knowing.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
When he said to his father and his people, "What are these statues to which you are devoted?"
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
They said, "We found our fathers worshippers of them."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
He said, "You were certainly, you and your fathers, in manifest error."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
They said, "Have you come to us with truth, or are you of those who jest?"
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
He said, "No, rather your Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth who created them, and I, to that, am of those who testify."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
And I swear by Allah, I will surely plan against your idols after you have turned and gone away.
Commentary. And I swear by Allah that I will do something to your idols. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 57. The wording of the verse indicates that Sayyidina Ibrahim spoke these words before his community. But this explanation leaves a little doubt in one's mind, because Sayyidina Ibrahim had excused himself from going to the Eid festival by pleading illness. Ayah 6 Surah as Safat, Ayah 89. And when they found their idols broken, they started a search for the culprit. If they already knew what he had said about their idols, and that he had stayed behind alone when they had gone to attend the Eid function, then it was fairly obvious that he had broken the idols. Then where was the need for them to go looking for the offender? There are more than one explanations to the situation. One, that since Sayyidina Ibrahim was the only one holding these views and enjoyed no standing in the community. People might have ignored and even forgotten what he had said as something of no consequence. In Al-Quran too, that those who were looking for the culprit were a different lot of people and were not aware of what Sayyidina Ibrahim had said about their idols. While in a third version, Mujahid and Qatada are of the view that Sayyidina Ibrahim did not speak these words before other people, but only pictured the situation in his mind, or had said that only at heart, or he might have spoken them before one or two old persons after the people had left for the festival. Later, when the idols were found broken and the people started looking for the one who did it, these old men revealed the secret to them.
So he made them into fragments, except a large one among them, that they might return to it and question.
Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58. The word is the plural for which means fragment or piece. Thus its meaning is that Sayyidina Ibrahim broke the idols into small pieces, save the big one of them. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58. That is, only the biggest idol was left intact and all the rest were broken. It is possible that the one which was left unbroken was either bigger in size or higher in esteem with the unbelievers, so that they may come back to him. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58. There can be three explanations to this expression. 1. If the object of to him is Sayyidina Ibrahim, then the meaning would be that he himself wanted the unbelievers to ask him why he had broken the idols, which would give him a chance to sneer at them that what they worshipped could not even look after themselves. The second meaning of could be that he destroyed the idols in the hope that when the unbelievers saw them in pieces it might convince them of the futility of idol worship and cause their return toward the religion of Sayyidina Ibrahim. The third explanation is given by Kalbi. He says that the object of is the big. In that case the explanation would be that when the unbelievers on their return saw the idols in pieces except the big one, who had a hammer resting on his shoulder, they might turn towards it for an explanation, and getting no response from it, they would see for themselves the helplessness of the idol.
They said, "Who has done this to our gods? Indeed, he is of the wrongdoers."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58, for the Tafsir.
They said, "We heard a young man mention them, who is called Abraham."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58, for the Tafsir.
They said, "Then bring him before the eyes of the people, that they may testify."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58, for the Tafsir.
They said, "Have you done this to our gods, O Abraham?"
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 58, for the Tafsir.
He said, "Rather this, the largest of them did it. So ask them, if they should be able to speak."
The words of Sayyidina Ibrahim were not untrue, but only illusions. He said, rather, "This is done by this chief of theirs. So ask them if they were to speak." Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63. When the community of Sayyidina Ibrahim got hold of him and asked him to confess his guilt, he said, "The big one among them has done it. Why don't you ask him if he can speak?" The point to consider here is that the idols were broken by Sayyidina Ibrahim, and its denial in attributing the deed to the big idol was contrary to fact and constituted an untruth. The exalted position of Sayyidina Ibrahim renders such a conclusion untenable. The exegetists have put forward several explanations to sort out this matter. One of them is that his statement is in the nature of an assumption, i.e., why not considering the possibility that the deed was done by the big idol? And a supposition which is contrary to facts is not a lie, as the Qur'an itself says, "If the Rahman all-merciful has a son, then I am the first to serve him." Surah Az-Zukhruf, Ayah 81. But the most convincing and straightforward explanation is the one adopted by Al-Bar al-Muhit, Qutubite and Ma'ani, which says that it is a metaphoric attribution, that is, the act which was done by Sayyidina Ibrahim was attributed to the big idol by way of metaphoric attribution, because it was this idol which, by reason of the reverence that it commanded in the whole community, persuaded Sayyidina Ibrahim to do what he did with the smaller idols. It is like amputating a thief's hand, and then telling him that none but his own misdeeds are responsible for the amputation. Sayyidina Ibrahim had also attributed the breaking of the idols to the big idol by placing an axe on its shoulder or in its hands, thus pointing an accusing finger towards it. He reinforced the suspicion by his word when he suggested to the unbelievers that they should inquire from the big idol as to who had destroyed the other idols. It is a case of metaphoric attribution, which is very well illustrated in an Arabic saying that is, the spring rains have raised crops. Although in actual fact it is God who produces and nourishes the crops, yet it has been ascribed to a visible cause, and no one can call it a lie. In the same manner Sayyidina Ibrahim was not telling untruth when he attributed the act to the big idol. His adoption of this act of dissimulation in fact served many religious interests, one of them being to make the people aware of the possibility that perhaps the big idol was infuriated with the smaller idols because they too were worshipped with the same degree of reverence as itself. If they could be made to think on these lines, it could have opened the route to belief in the oneness of Allah. If the big idol was not willing to accept the idols as objects of worship, how could Allah, the creator of all living things, agree to share his authority with anyone? Secondly, perhaps they also wondered that if the idols whom they worshipped were really as powerful as they thought them to be, how could anyone have broken them with impunity? Thirdly, if the charge of breaking the smaller idols could be laid against the big idol, then it would be quite pertinent to ask that in that event it should also have the power of speech. That is why Sayyidina Ibrahim I said, so ask them if they were to speak. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63. Thus it is really not necessary to put far-fetched meanings into his words, which should be interpreted in a plain, straightforward manner. He attributed the deed to the big idol, by way of metaphoric attribution. This was not contrary to facts, nor did it constitute an untruth. 3 untruths ascribed to Sayyidina Ibrahim. Now the point to consider is that the Holy Prophet himself has said, according to some authentic traditions, that Bukhari in Muslim, that is Sayyidina Ibrahim never spoke untruth except on 3 occasions, and then those 3 occasions have been described in the same hadith in some detail. The saying goes on to narrate that 2 out of the 3 untruths were spoken solely in the way of Allah. One of them is this verse, rather this is done by this chief Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63. The second one relates to Eid day, when he said to his family, and 6 surahs, Safat, Ayah 89, and the third one was spoken to save his wife from harm. This happened when he was traveling with his wife Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, and passed through a settlement whose ruler was cruel and depraved, and who used to seize the wives of other people and subject them to sexual abuse. However, he spared those who were accompanied by their fathers or brothers. When Sayyidina Ibrahim reached the city, the ruler was informed about the arrival of the couple. So he got Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, arrested and brought before him. When the ruler's men came to arrest her, they inquired from Sayyidina Ibrahim about his relationship with her. Fearing the evil intentions of the wicked ruler, Sayyidina Ibrahim said that she was his sister. It is this episode which is referred to in the hadith as the third lie. Despite this declaration, they took her away with them. Sayyidina Ibrahim had already briefed her that she should also tell the ruler that she was his sister, because according to Islamic relationship, they were brother and sister, as they were the only 2 Muslims in that land, and hence according to Muslim brotherhood that relationship was valid. Sayyidina Ibrahim lacked the strength to defend himself and his wife against the ruler and his men, so he started praying to invoke Allah's mercy. When Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, was brought before the ruler, he started making advances to her, and in punishment he was turned into a cripple. Then he begged her to pray for him to return to normal, in which case he would let her go without harm. When Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, prayed for him, and he returned to normal, he broke his promise, and again tried to molest her, and again became a cripple. This was repeated thrice, and ultimately he gave up and sent back Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, to Sayyidina Ibrahim. This is a summary of the hadith. However, 3 lies have been ascribed to Sayyidina Ibrahim clearly in this hadith, which is against the position and dignity of the prophethood. But the hadith contains in itself a refutation of this charge, i.e., none of the 3 episodes reveal that a deliberate lie was told. They were mere dissimulations, which are permissible and legitimate if spoken in defense of oneself from cruelty, and do not fall within the definition of a lie. The reasoning for this is given in the hadith itself, i.e., Sayyidina Ibrahim had told Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, that he had informed the ruler's men that she was his sister, and that she should also say the same, because they were indeed brother and sister in the wider sense of universal Muslim brotherhood. This is called Toriyah, dissembling, where the words used may be interpreted differently, so that the listener understands them one way, whereas the speaker means something else. Toriyah is permissible by consensus of Islamic jurists if used to save oneself from injustice. This is totally different from Taqiyah, which is an outright lie. In Taqiyah, one does not only speak a lie, but also acts on it, while in the case of Toriyah, it is not a lie in the real sense, as the speaker uses words which are capable of conveying his intentions, as in the case of Sayyidina Ibrahim calling Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, as his sister, which was true in the sense that both were Muslims and Islam constitutes a universal brotherhood. Same argument can be put forward in the case of his other two utterances. It has been explained above that he said as a Toriyah to refer the act toward the big idol by way of metaphor, as for his saying. In common parlance, the word sakim means sick, but it also means depressed, dejected, despondent, and weak. Sayyidina Ibrahim said in the latter sense, which was absolutely true, keeping and considering his feelings against the unbelievers, but the people took it in the popular sense, i.e. sickness. Then the wording of the hadith that 2 out of the 3 lies were to promote belief in the one and true Allah suggests that they were not sins, because no one can hope to please Allah by committing an act of sin. It is sheer ignorance to deny the authenticity of the lies of Sayyidina Ibrahim. Some Muslims who are influenced by the writings of Western Orientalists and Mirza Qadiani have declared this saying as unauthentic, despite the fact that its narrators are reliable persons, because it accuses Sayyidina Ibrahim of lying, which is against the spirit of Quran, and that it is better to declare all the narrators of the saying as unreliable rather than to label Sayyidina Ibrahim as a liar. From this they also made a rule that any saying, no matter how authentic its source might be, should be rejected if it is in conflict with the teachings of Quran. This ruling is absolutely valid and acceptable to entire Ummah, but the point is that the religious scholars have spent all their lives in researching each and every hadith, and none of those which they have accepted as authentic conflicts with the teachings of the Quran. Such people, lacking knowledge and being misguided, do not hesitate to reject the hadith and then justify the rejection by arguing that it is in conflict with the Quran. In the present case, the saying itself makes it clear that the words which may be interpreted as lies is only Toriyah. As for the question why the words of Toriyah are called lies in the saying, the answer is that the slightest slip of those who are close to God is taken seriously, as can be seen in the previous Surah Taha, when Sayyidina Adam's slip in mistake is referred by the word disobeyed, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 121, and got misled, Surah Taha, Ayah 121. It can be seen that whereas small mistakes can be forgiven and set aside in the case of common people, the same slips are considered as serious offenses when committed by those who are dear to Allah Ta'ala. The Holy Quran recounts in many places Allah's displeasure over prophets in such situations. The Hadith of Shafa'ah, intercession before Allah Ta'ala, which is famous and well known, says that on the day of resurrection all people will gather together and request prophets from Sayyidina Adam up to the last prophet who came before the coming of the Holy Prophet, one by one, for Shafa'ah, intercession, that they be judged quickly. Every prophet will excuse himself from Shafa'ah, intercession, recounting one or more of his slips or mistakes. At last the entire humanity will approach the last of the prophets, Sayyidina Muhammad, and he will perform Ash-Shafa al-Kubra. According to the saying, Sayyidina Ibrahim will excuse himself, quoting these utterances which, though set as Toriyah and were therefore not lies in actual fact, were nonetheless below the dignity of a prophet. This lapse has been described as a lie in the hadith. This was well within the prerogative of the Holy Prophet, and to the extent of narration of the saying we too may repeat it. But it is not permitted to anyone, except when quoting the Quran or this hadith, to say that Sayyidina Ibrahim had told a lie. The same view has been taken by Qutb Zayd al-Bar al-Muhid in the commentary of Surah Taha in connection with Sayyidina Adam, reference to a delicate hint regarding sincerity of action arising from the saying. Out of the 3 lies which have been attributed to Sayyidina Ibrahim in the saying, 2 are said to be in the way of Allah Ta'ala. But the 3rd lie, which was about Sayyidah Sarah, may Allah be pleased with him, was not said to be in the way of Allah Ta'ala, although saving the chastity of one's wife is very much a part of religious duty. On this point, in the commentary by Qutb, a very delicate suggestion by Qazi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi has been reproduced, which is apt to shatter the peace of mind of the pious and God-fearing persons. In saving the chastity of one's wife, though an act of religious duty, there was also an element of personal interest in protecting his wife's honor. Because of the mixed motives, this 3rd incident has been excluded from the category of acts which are performed for Allah Ta'ala, because Allah Ta'ala has said, "Look, to Allah alone belongs the pure faith." Surah Az-Zumar, Ayat 3. Had some common man like us been involved in such an incident, then the act would have surely qualified as an act which are performed to win the goodwill of God. But in view of the exalted position of the prophets, the smallest degree of personal motive was regarded against the perfect quality of their devotion. How the fire of Namrud turned into a pleasant garden for Sayyidina Ibrahim. Those who do not believe in miracles and supernatural events have given strange meaning to this episode. The philosophical assumption that attributes which are attached with and complementary to something are not separable is by itself fallacious. The fact is that nothing in this world is essential to or inseparable from something else. God gave to fire an attribute, that it should burn, and to water, that it should cool, but these attributes are customary and habitual, but not rationally necessary. No philosopher has so far been able to advance a convincing argument about these attributes being rational. Thus these attributes being only habitual, they can be changed whenever God so wills. If God so wills, fire can act as a coolant and water as a burning agent, and it cannot be held as rationally impossible. This is what happens when Allah Ta'ala reveals His miracles in support of the missions of His prophets. Thus He commanded the fire of Namrud to cool down and the fire obey, and if the word cool was not followed by the word safe, the fire would have cooled like ice and would have caused him harm. The Quran says about the people of Nuh when they were drowned in water that they were drowned and admitted into a fire. Surah Nuh, Ayah 25, Burnham Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 68, that is the entire community, and Namrud decided to burn him in fire. The historic version is that for full 1 month the entire population of the city were busy collecting firewood for this purpose. Then after lighting the firewood they fanned it to make it burn ferociously for the next 7 days, until the flames rose high up into the sky. When the fire blazed with full ferocity, they decided to throw Sayyidina Ibrahim into it. But the fire was burning with such intensity that no one dared to approach it. Then the Shaitan gave them the idea to use a catapult to throw him into the fire. While people were preparing to throw Allah's friend into the sea of fire, all the angels and all the creatures of the earth and sky cried out in unison at the fate that lay in store for Sayyidina Ibrahim. At that Allah Ta'ala permitted them all to help Sayyidina Ibrahim. When the angels asked Sayyidina Ibrahim whether he needed their help, he replied that Allah was enough to help him and that He was watching over him. Jibril al-Amin inquired whether he could render him any help, to which Sayyidina Ibrahim replied, "Of course I need help, but from Allah, not from you." Mashari.
So they returned to blaming themselves and said to each other, "Indeed, you are the wrongdoers."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63, for the Tafsir.
Then they reversed themselves, saying, "You have already known that these do not speak."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63, for the Tafsir.
He said, "Then do you worship instead of Allah that which does not benefit you at all or harm you?"
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63, for the Tafsir.
Uff to you and to what you worship instead of Allah. Then will you not use reason?
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63, for the Tafsir.
They said, "Burn him and support your gods if you are to act."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 63, for the Tafsir.
Allah said, "O fire, be coolness and safety upon Abraham."
We said, "O fire, be cold and safe for Ibrahim." Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 69, as stated above. One explanation of the fire becoming cool and comfortable for Sayyidina Ibrahim could be that it ceased to be fire and changed into a pleasant breeze. However, the more plausible explanation is that the fire remained as fire, but did not touch the body of Sayyidina Ibrahim, although it burnt other things around him, so much so that it even burnt down the rope which bound him. According to some historic versions, he remained in the fire for 7 days, and used to recall that those 7 days were the most comfortable time of his entire life. Majari.
And they intended for him harm, but we made them the greatest losers.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 69, for the Tafsir.
And we delivered him and Lot to the land which we had blessed for the worlds.
And we rescued him and Lot towards the land we blessed for all the worlds. That is, we delivered Sayyidina Ibrahim and Sayyidina Lot from the land Iraq, where Namrud ruled, and sent them to the peaceful land of Syria, where our bounties were in abundance, not only for the locals, but for the people of the world. Syrian land abounds both inwards and outwards bounties of Allah Ta'ala. Inward bounties in the sense that many prophets were born in this land, and outward bounty in the sense that it has a moderate climate and is full of natural beauty with greenery, springs and streams all around, and sustains a large variety of vegetation, fruits and flowers.
And we gave him Isaac and Jacob in addition, and all of them we made righteous.
And we blessed him with Ishaq and Yaqub as gift. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 72, that is, Allah Ta'ala had bestowed upon him the son Ishaq, as per his supplication, and in addition to that a grandson Yaqub as a gift. This is why he is referred to as Nafila, which originally means extra.
And we made them leaders, guiding by our command. And we inspired to them the doing of good deeds, establishment of prayer, and giving of zakah. And they were worshippers of us.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 72 for the Tafsir.
And to Lot we gave judgment and knowledge, and we saved him from the city that was committing wicked deeds. Indeed, they were a people of evil, defiantly disobedient.
Commentary. The name of the city from which Sayyidina Lot was saved, and which has been mentioned in these verses, was Sodom. There were 7 other townships under this city, which were thrown upside down by Jibril, except one which was left intact for Lot and his followers. Ibn Abbas, quotable, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 74, Kabath, is the plural of meaning wickedness. Too many wicked things collectively are called Kabath. Their most abominable practice, in which even the animals do not indulge, was sodomy or homosexuality. It is possible that because of its extreme wicked nature this practice is referred to as that is in plural instead of in singular, as some commentators have explained. The second explanation is that the people of Sodom also indulged in other bad habits such as drinking, singing, shaving off beard, growing mustaches, wearing silk clothes, stone throwing, whistling, etc. Ra'ul Ma'ani.
And we admitted him into our mercy. Indeed, he was of the righteous.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 74 for the Tafsir.
And mention Noah when he called to Allah before that time. So we responded to him and saved him and his family from the great flood.
Commentary. And remember Nuh when he called for help. Earlier Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 76. Here, earlier means before the time of Sayyidina Ibrahim and Sayyidina Lot, whose account has just preceded in previous verses. As for the prayer of Nuh, which is referred to here briefly, the version given in Surah Nuh is that Sayyidina Nuh had cursed his people, "My Lord, leave not upon the earth of the unbelievers even one." Surah Nuh, Ayah 26. It is reported at another place that when the people of Nuh did not listen to him at all, he prayed to Allah Ta'ala, "I am vanquished, do thou succor me." Surah Al-Qamar, Ayah 10. So you take revenge from them. So we responded to him and saved him and his family from the terrible agony. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 76. Here the expression terrible agony either refers to the drowning in the deluge, which annihilated the entire people, or the torture which he and his followers suffered at the hands of those people.
And we saved him from the people who denied our signs. Indeed, they were a people of evil, so we drowned them all together.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayat 76, for the Tafsir.
And mention David and Solomon, when they judged concerning the field, when the sheep of a people overran it at night, and we were witness to their judgment.
Commentary. The goats of the people wandered therein, grazing. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 78. In Arabic language, the word, translated above as wandering and grazing, means an animal getting into a field at night and damaging it.
And we gave understanding of the case to Solomon, and to each of them we gave judgment and knowledge. And we subjected the mountains to exalt us, along with David and also the birds. And we were doing that.
So we enabled Suleiman to understand it. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 79. This expression means that Allah Ta'ala had made known to Sayyidina Suleiman the judgment which was better. Although the judgment passed by Sayyidina Dawud was not in conflict with religious jurisprudence, but the one adjudged by Suleiman was inspired by Allah, and was therefore more appropriate because it benefited both the parties without hurting either. Imam Badhoui, may Allah have mercy on him, has reported this story on authority of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and Qatada and Zuri, the 2 persons came to Sayyidina Dawud. One of them had a flock of goats, and the other one owned a field on which he grew crops. The latter made a complaint against the former that his goats entered his field at night and ate up his crop. It appears that the respondent had accepted the petitioner's complaint, and presumably the value of the flock of goats was equal to the value of the crop. Thus Sayyidina Dawud announced his judgment that the owner of the goats should give his entire flock to the other man in compensation for his loss. This judgment was in line with the religious jurisprudence, which requires that if goods valued by a price are destroyed by someone, the amount of compensation will be determined according to that price. In this case, the value of the crop was the same as the value of the flock, hence the judgment. When these two men, i.e. the complainant and the respondent, emerged from the court of Sayyid Dawud, they met Sayyid Suleiman at the door. He inquired from them about the judgment of their case, which they related to him. After hearing the judgment, he remarked that if he were the judge in this case, his verdict would have been different, which would be to the benefit of both parties. Then he went to his father Sayyid Dawud and repeated the same thing. Thereupon Sayyid Dawud inquired from him as to what kind of verdict he had in mind, which would be more beneficial to both parties. He replied that it would be more just and equitable if the flock of goats is given to the owner of the field so that he could use to his own benefit their milk, wool, etc., and his field is given to the goats' men who should cultivate it and grow crops in it. When the field returns to the same condition in which it was before it was eaten by the goats, then the two men should get back their respective properties. Sayyid Dawud approved this judgment, called back the two men, and announced the second judgment to them. Mahari, Quatubai, etc. Can the verdict of a judge, Qadi, be changed or annulled after it has been announced? It will be observed that Sayyid Dawud had pronounced a judgment which he revoked after hearing the views of Sayyid Suleiman. Here a question arises whether a Qadi, judge, has the authority to change his own verdict pronounced by him earlier. Quatubai has discussed this and similar matters in great detail, the gist of which is that where a Qadi, judge, has given a verdict which is in conflict with the religious jurisprudence or is contrary to the views held by the people at large, then, by consensus of the Ummah, such a verdict is not valid. Then it is not only permissible, but mandatory on any other Qadi, judge, to nullify the verdict and to issue a fresh judgment in line with religious jurisprudence, and also to remove the incompetent Qadi from his position of authority. But if the judgment of a Qadi is based on religious jurisprudence and ijtihad, then it is not permissible for any other Qadis, judges, to revoke that judgment, because if this is allowed, the whole judicial system will collapse and Islamic law will become a plaything in the hands of different people. However, if a Qadi, after passing a verdict according to the dictates of ijtihad, realizes that he had erred in his earlier judgment in ijtihad, then it is allowed, rather preferable, that he himself should change the verdict. In a detailed letter which Sayyid Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, wrote to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari elaborating the principles governing the administration of justice and disposal of court cases, he said that in case ijtihad changes after announcing a judgment, then the judgment should be changed to conform to the changed ijtihad. This letter is reported by Darqutni. According to great commentator Mujahid, may Allah have mercy on him, both the judgments are bona fide and correct in their own respective right. The verdict passed by Sayyid Dawud was strictly judicial, whereas the judgment made by Sayyid Suleiman was in the nature of a compromise between the two parties. The Holy Quran itself says, and compromise is better. Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 128. That is why the second judgment was praised by Allah Ta'ala. Majari, Sayyid Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, had instructed all his Qadis, judges, that when a dispute was raised before them, they should try to arrange a compromise between the parties. If a compromise was not possible, only then they should pass their judgment according to religious jurisprudence. The advantage in following this procedure, as he described it, was that in a legal judgment the loser has no option but to accept it, but at heart he develops a sense of hostility and hatred against his rival, which is not healthy between the two Muslims. On the other hand, in the case of a compromise between the contesting parties, the element of hatred and ill will is removed. From Mainul Hakam, therefore, according to the explanation propounded by Mujahid, may Allah have mercy on him, it was not a case of revoking or changing an earlier verdict, rather a compromise was willingly agreed between both the parties to the dispute before they left the court. If two mujtahids by their separate ijtihad pass two conflicting verdicts, should both be regarded as valid or should one of them be rejected? A number of commentators have discussed this subject briefly or in detail, whether all mujtahideen be regarded as correct in their judgment, and two opposing verdicts be taken as valid, or, in case of conflict, one judgment be accepted and the other rejected. Quatubai has dealt this subject in great detail. Religious scholars have held different views on the subject from the very beginning, while projecting their reasoning. All have derived support for their views from this very verse. Those who support the argument that even conflicting verdicts are valid base their reasoning on the last sentence of the verse, viz., and to each one of them we gave wisdom and knowledge, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 79. The sentence points out in clear terms that Allah Ta'ala had bestowed wisdom and knowledge to both Sayyidina Dawud and Suleiman, and there is no admonition to the former, nor is he warned for any error on his part. Therefore it proves that both the judgments given by Sayyidina Dawud and Suleiman were correct and valid. However, the judgment given by Suleiman was preferred because it was advantageous to both the parties. As for those who argue that in the event of an ijtihadi difference only one judgment can be correct, and the other must be rejected as invalid, they too offer the first sentence of this very verse, i.e., so we enabled Suleiman to understand it, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 79, in support of their argument. They say that there is a specific reference to Suleiman to whom the correct decision was revealed by Allah. It therefore follows that the verdict announced by Sayyidina Dawud was not right, even though he might have arrived at this decision through his ijtihad, and was therefore free from all blame. This subject has been discussed in great detail in the books of jurisprudence. Here one should keep in mind that the Holy Prophet has said that if someone did ijtihad and gave a decision in accordance with the religious principles governing ijtihad and his ijtihad is correct, he will be granted two rewards, one for the labor involved in making the ijtihad, and the other for arriving at the right decision. But if he erred in his ijtihad, he would still get one reward for just his labor. This hadith is reported in most books of authoritative hadith. This hadith also explains that the difference among the scholars on this issue is one of semantics only. For those who believe that both the conflicting judgment are valid, the consequences are that for the erring mujtahid as well as his followers that ijtihad is correct and acting upon it will lead to their salvation. As for the view that only one verdict is correct and the other is wrong, the consequence of that also is no more than that the reward of the erring mujtahid will be lesser, because his ijtihad fell short of the absolute right decision. However, he will be free from all blame and his followers will not be regarded as sinners. Those who wish to see further details on the subject are advised to refer to Qatadas' commentary, where the subject is discussed in great detail, the question of animals of a person harming another person or damaging his property. One can deduce from the verdict passed by Sayyidina Dawud that if the animals of someone damage the property of a person at night, the owner of the animals will have to compensate the suffering party for his loss. However, it does not follow that a verdict given in accordance with the legal code of Sayyidina Dawud must ipso facto be adopted in the Sharia of the Holy Prophet also. This is why there is a difference of opinion among the cardinal jurists on this issue. The ruling given by Imam Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, says that if someone's animals damage the fields of another person at night, the owner of the animals will have to compensate for the loss, but if the animals damage the field during daytime, then there shall be no compensation due on the owner of the animals. This ruling can be said to be drawn from the judgment of Sayyidina Dawud also, but in fact he has based his ruling on a saying of the Prophet Muhammad which has been reported in Muwatta of Imam Malik as mursal. This hadith concerns an incident in which a camel belonging to Sayyidina Bara ibn Azib, may Allah be pleased with him, entered someone's orchard and damaged it. The matter, when reported to the Holy Prophet, he ruled that the responsibility for protecting these fields and orchards at night rested on the owners. But if in spite of all reasonable measures adopted by them, the animals damage the crop, then the owner of the animals shall be required to compensate for the loss. On the other hand, the Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, and other jurists of Kufa school hold the view that if the owner or the shepherd is with the animals, and yet they damage the field or the orchard due to his negligence, then the compensation for the loss rests with the owner irrespective of whether the damage is caused during day or night. But where unattended animal wandered into somebody's field damaging the same without any negligence on the part of the owner, then the owner of the animals will not be held liable for compensation, regardless of the time of day or night when the damage is caused. Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, has based this ruling on the hadith, the wound caused by an animal is not compensated, which is reported by Bukhari and Muslim and all other scholars of hadith. It means that the owner of the animal is not bound to compensate the owner of the field for any loss caused by his animal, provided that the owner or the shepherd is not with the animal at the time of the damage. This saying has set the rule that irrespective of the time of day or night, if the animal has not been let loose deliberately by its owner into somebody's field and the animal has escaped, then the owner is not liable to make good the loss caused by his animal. Glorification of Allah by birds and mountains. And with Dawud we subjugated the mountains that proclaimed the purity of Allah, and the birds as well. And we were the one who did it. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 79. Allah Ta'ala had granted Sayyidina Dawud a melodious voice among the other outward absolute excellences. When he used to recite Zabur, the birds would stop in their flight and join him in recitation. In the same way, the mountains and the trees used to produce sounds as if they were singing praises to glorify Allah. A melodious voice was an external attribute granted to him by Allah, and the joining with him of the birds and the mountains in praising Allah with him was a miracle. Now, for a miracle to happen, it is not necessary that the birds and the mountains must necessarily possess life and intelligence. Rather, a miracle can give intelligence and knowledge to those objects which were without these attributes earlier. However, scientific research has proved that rocks and mountains do have life and knowledge to a limited extent. Among the companions say, Ibn Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, may Allah have mercy on him, had a very sweet voice. Once the Holy Prophet passed by him when he was reciting the Holy Qur'an. The Holy Prophet stopped and listened to the recitation. Then he remarked that Allah Ta'ala had granted him the sweet voice of Dawud. When Abu Musa, may Allah be pleased with him, learned that the Holy Prophet had been listening to his recitation, he said, had I known that you were listening, I would have tried to recite with greater care.
And we taught him the fashioning of coats of armor to protect you from your enemy in battle. So will you then be grateful?
The art of making armor was granted to Sayyidina Dawud by Allah Ta'ala. And we taught him making of armor as dress for you. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 80. Lexically, the word is used for anything which is worn in the neck for protection. Here it is used for armor, which is used in battle for protection against enemy. In another verse, Allah Ta'ala says that as we soften for him iron, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 10. This means that either the iron used to become soft like wax and say, in Dawud hands, or he was taught to heat it up to make it soft, and then mold it, a practice which is used in the foundries today. Skills beneficial to humanity are desirable and are like acts of prophets. The above verse also explains the benefit of the industry of the armor making, i.e., to protect you from what may harm you in combat. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 80. This is a need which is felt universally both for religious and worldly purposes. That is why Allah Ta'ala has said that he had taught the skill to Dawud, which was a gift to him. It therefore follows that the learning and teaching of any skill which serves the need of people is an act of virtue, provided it is meant for the good of people, and not merely for the monetary gain. Different prophets are known to have been engaged in different skills in their time. For instance, say, Ibn Adam used his skill in farming. The Holy Prophet said that an industrialist producing his product with the intention of serving people is like the mother of Musa, who fed her own child and also got paid for her services. Similarly, an industrialist who sets before him the service of humanity as his ideal draws double benefit, one for serving people and the other in the form of material gain from marketing his industrial products, making the heir subservient to Suleiman I and related matters. Hassan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, has narrated the following story. One say, Ibn Suleiman was inspecting his cavalry horses and got so engrossed in the inspection that he missed the Asr prayer. When he realized his lapse, he was very sorry, and removed these horses from service since they were the cause of this lapse. As this action was taken to win the goodwill of Allah and to atone for his negligence, Allah rewarded him by making the wind subservient to him, which is a superior and vaster conveyance. Details of this event will appear with the commentary of the relevant verses of Surah Sad, inshallah.
And to Solomon we subjected the wind, blowing forcefully, proceeding by his command toward the land which we had blessed. And we are ever, of all things, knowing.
And for Suleiman we subjugated the violent wind. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 81. This sentence is a continuation of an earlier verse. And with Dawud we subjugated Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 79. Thus it means that just as Allah Ta'ala had made birds and hills subservient to Dawud, who used to sing in praise of Allah while he recited the Zabur, in the same way he made the wind subservient to Suleiman, who used to fly on its wings swiftly wherever he wanted to go. It is worth noting here that while describing subservience of birds and hills for Dawud, the word with has been used, but the subservience of wind for Suleiman has been described using the letter which means for. In this there is a subtle hint that the subservience in both these cases was different. In the case of Dawud, the birds and hills used to sing praise of Allah with him simultaneously without any command from him. But in the case of Suleiman, the wind acted according to his commands and carried him where and when he desired. Ra'ul Ma'ani, with reference to Al-Baidawi, Ibn Kathir in his commentary has described in fair detail the platform on which Ibn Suleiman was carried by the wind. It was made of wood, and was of an enormous size which could accommodate him and all the functionaries of the government as well as the army along with their weapons, and the wind carried them all wherever it was commanded to go, covering 2 months' journey in 1 day. Ibn Abi Hatim has narrated on the authority of Sayyid Ibn Jubair, may Allah be pleased with him, that 600,000 chairs were placed on this platform, on which humans who were also believers sat in front with Sayyidina Suleiman, and behind them sat the believing jinns. Then the birds were commanded to fly above the platform and protect it from the heat of the sun. Then by the command of Suleiman the wind would take the platform to a specified destination. Some traditions report that throughout this aerial journey, Suleiman used to sit with his head bowed down, praying to and thanking Allah Ta'ala in all humility, and not turning his head to the right or to the left. Violent, the literal meaning of his strong and violent wind. At another place in the Holy Quran, the attribute of this wind is given as which means a mild breeze, which neither raises dust nor creates turbulence. On the face of it, these attributes are contradictory, but they can be reconciled in that whereas in itself it was so strong that it could accomplish 2 months' journey in 1 day, yet it did not create any turbulence. It is reported that when this platform used to fly in the air, no birds were ever harmed due to velocity of the wind.
And of the devils were those who dived for him and did work other than that, and we were of them a guardian.
Subservience of jinns and shaitans to Suleiman, and from the devils we subjugated for him those who dived in water for him and did jobs other than that, and we were the one who kept watch over them. Surah Al-Anbiya, ayah 82, that is, Allah made the Satan jinns subservient to Suleiman, and they used to dive in the rivers fishing pearls for him. Apart from this, they used to perform other jobs for him, some of which are mentioned in other verses. That is, fashioning for him whatsoever he would places of worship, statues, pouring like water. Trough Surah Saba, ayah 13. Suleiman also used to put them to hard labor and make them work in different projects. Shaitans. These are ethereal beings made of fire, who possess intelligence and understanding, and are obligated to follow the laws of Sharia like humans. Those beings who fulfill these conditions are described by the word jinn, while those among them who disobey the rules of Sharia and persist in their unbelief are called Satans. It is obvious that all jinns were made subservient to Sayyidina Suleiman, whether they were believers or unbelievers. However, the believers regarded it as their religious duty to obey his wishes even before they were formally placed under his command, and there was no need to make a specific mention of their being placed under subservience to Suleiman. Hence, in the context of the jinns being made subservient to Sayyidina Suleiman, the reference is to shaitans, unbelieving jinns, only. They were made to obey him despite their unbelief and defiance. Perhaps it is for this reason that a sentence is added at the end of the verse saying, "We alone kept watch over them." Suleiman was exposed to danger from the unbelieving jinns, but Allah was his protector, and they could do him no harm. It will be observed that while in the case of Sayyidina Dawud, Allah Ta'ala had made subservient to him things which are extremely hard and dense, like iron and mountains, Suleiman was given mastery over things which are ethereal and cannot even be perceived, e.g. wind and jinn. This shows that he is omnipotent and that his authority extends over all created things. Commentary by Razi.
And mention Job, when he called to his Lord, "Indeed, adversity has touched me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful."
Commentary. Story of Sayyidina Ayub. The story of Sayyidina Ayub is based mostly on Jewish legends. Those which are considered as historically reliable by scholars of Hadith are being reproduced here. The Holy Quran tells us only that he suffered from some serious disease, but he endured his suffering with fortitude. Ultimately, he prayed to Allah for recovery, which was granted. During his illness, all his family members and friends disappeared. They either died or just abandoned him to his fate. Then Allah Ta'ala restored him to complete health and gave him back all his children, and also an equal number in addition. The remaining elements of this story have come down to us either through authentic sayings or by way of historical accounts. Hafiz ibn Kathir has recorded the story as follows. Allah Ta'ala had bestowed upon Sayyidina Ayub in the early days of his life all sorts of material comforts, such as wealth, property, magnificent houses, children, servants, and attendants. But later he faced a trial whereby the prophets are normally tested by Allah, and was deprived of all these comforts. Moreover, he suffered from a serious disease which was like leprosy, and which affected his whole body except the heart and the tongue. In this miserable condition too he spent his time in prayers and in giving thanks to Allah Ta'ala with his heart and tongue. Because of this serious illness, all his relatives, friends, and neighbors avoided him and placed him near a garbage dump outside the city. Nobody went near him except his wife, who used to take care of him. She was either the daughter or granddaughter of Sayyid Yusuf, and her name was Layya, daughter of Misha ibn Yusuf ibn Kathir. All his wealth having been lost, she worked and earned a living for him and for herself, and also nursed him in his illness. The ordeal of Sayyidina was nothing new, nor something to be wondered at. The Holy Prophet has said that as the prophets face the most severe tests, and then come the other believers according to their degree of piety. In another tradition, it is reported that every man is tested according to his adherence and devotion to religion. The stronger his beliefs, the harder is the test to which he is subjected, so that his rewards are in proportion to his sufferings. Sayyidina occupies a distinctive position among all the prophets for firmness in his devotion and endurance in his sufferings, in the same manner as Dawud enjoyed distinction for offering thanks to Allah Ta'ala. Sayyidina is a model of endurance and fortitude in the most trying circumstances. Yazid ibn Maysar reports that when Allah Ta'ala deprived him of all his worldly possessions and subjected him to a severe ordeal, he concentrated all his mind and efforts upon the sole purpose of remembering Allah Ta'ala and offering prayers to him, while thanking Allah Ta'ala for all sorts of worldly comforts and children granted to him earlier, and whose love had filled his heart completely. He also thanked him for their total withdrawal, because nothing remained to distract him from total devotion to Allah Ta'ala. The invocation of Sayyidina is not counter to patience. The ordeal of Sayyidina was very severe indeed. He not only lost all his worldly possessions, but was also afflicted by a terrible disease, because of which people avoided his company. He spent 7 years and some months lying near a garbage dump outside the city, but never once did he lose his heart, nor did he ever utter a word of complaint about his fate. His wife, Layya, once asked him to pray to Allah for his mercy, as his sufferings had become unbearable, to which he replied that having enjoyed for 70 years the best of health, surrounded by all the luxuries that money could buy, it would be unworthy of him to complain, because a mere 7 years has been spent in pain and poverty. His firm prophetic resolve, self-discipline, and fortitude prevented him from beseeching Allah Ta'ala's mercy on his condition, lest it should be construed as an act contrary to the unquestioning submission to the will of Allah Ta'ala, although to invoke Allah's mercy for relief from sufferings does not mean absence of fortitude. Ultimately, something happened which made him pray to Allah Ta'ala for his mercy, but as mentioned earlier, this was just a prayer and did not express a sense of complaint. As such, Allah Ta'ala has put his seal in acknowledgement of his extreme endurance in these words. Surely we found him a steadfast man. Surah Sad, Ayah 44. There are numerous versions of this story which have been omitted for their length. Ibn Abi Haytham has reported on the authority of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that when Sayyidina his supplication was granted, he was told to rub his heels on the ground, and a stream of fresh and clear water would gush forth. He should then bathe himself in the water and also drink it, and the disease would disappear. Sayyidina did as he was told, and in no time his body, which was covered with boils and was reduced to skin and bones, regained its original shape and health. Allah Ta'ala sent him garments from paradise, which he wore, and sat down in a corner away from the garbage dump. His wife came to see him as usual, and when she did not find him, she started crying. She did not recognize who was sitting nearby in a corner, because his appearance had changed completely. Then she turned to him and asked him if he had any information about the sick man who was lying there, and whether he had gone somewhere or had been eaten up by dogs and wolves. She spoke to him for some time without realizing that the man was none other than her husband. Then Sayyidina revealed himself, but even then she did not recognize him and asked him why he was making fun of her. Sayyidina then told her to look at him again and try to recognize him. He also informed her that Allah Ta'ala had healed his body after he invoked his mercy. Sayyidina ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that after this, Allah Ta'ala restored to him all his wealth and children, and gave him more children equal in number to the children which he had before. Ibn Kathir, Sayyidina ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, says that Sayyidina had 7 sons and 7 daughters, but they all died while he was undergoing the ordeal. When his days of hardship were over, his children were brought back to life by Allah Ta'ala, and his wife also gave birth to as many more children, to which the Qur'an refers to as, and the like thereof, along with them. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 84. According to Thalabi, this version is closer to the text of the Qur'an. Qutubite, some scholars say that he was granted as many new children as he had before, and the word, the like, refers to an equal number of grandchildren. Only Allah knows best.
So we responded to him and removed what afflicted him of adversity. And we gave him back his family and the like thereof with them as mercy from us and a reminder for the worshippers of Allah.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 83 for the Tafsir.
And mention Ishmael and Idris and Dhul Kifl, all were of the patient.
Commentary. Whether say Ibn D. Hull Kifl was a prophet or a saint in his strange story, 3 persons are mentioned in the above 2 verses. Out of these 3 there is no doubt about the prophethood of Sayyidina Ismail and Sayyidina Idris, as they are mentioned in the Quran as such several times. Ibn Kathir is of the opinion that the mention of the name of Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl along with the other 2 prophets in the above verse shows that he too was a prophet. However, some other versions do not include him in the category of prophets. They say that he was a saint or a pious person. Imam of Tafsir Ibn Jarir, may Allah have mercy on him, has reported on the authority of Mujahid, may Allah have mercy on him, that where Sayyidina Yasa, who is referred to as a prophet in the Holy Quran, became old and weak, he thought of appointing someone who could perform the duties of a prophet on his behalf during his lifetime. He assembled all his companions for this purpose and told them of his desire to appoint someone who would act as his deputy, but who must fulfill 3 conditions, namely that he should fast all the year round, should spend the nights in prayers, and does not ever lose his temper. A relatively unknown person who was held in contempt by the people stood up and offered himself for the job. Sayyidina Yasa asked him whether he fasted all the year round, spent his nights in prayers, and never lost his temper. The man replied in the affirmative and confirmed that he fulfilled all the 3 conditions. Perhaps Sayyidina Yasa did not believe his claim and rejected him. After a few days, Sayyidina Yasa reconvened the meeting and repeated his conditions and asked his companions if any of them met the requirements. Everyone remained seated, but the same man stood up again and claimed that he fulfilled the 3 conditions. Then Yasa appointed him his deputy. When Shaitan realized that Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl had been selected as a deputy to Yasa, he asked all his aides to go to Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl and inveigle him into doing something which would result in his removal from the post of deputy. All his aides excused themselves and said that he was beyond their power to harm. The Satan, Iblis, then said, "All right, leave him to me. I will take care of him." Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl, true to his claim, used to fast during the day and pray the whole night and had a little nap in the afternoon. Satan went to him just when he was about to take his afternoon nap and knocked at the door. He got up and inquired who was there. The Satan replied, "I am an old tortured man." So he opened the door and let him in. The Satan came in and started a yarn about the cruelty and injustice which he suffered at the hands of his community and relatives. He stretched the story so long that no time was left for Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl to take his usual nap. So he told the old man Shaitan that he should come to him at the time when he came out, and he would cause justice to be done to him. Later on, Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl sat in his court and waited for the old man, but he did not turn up. Next morning he again waited for the old man in his court, but again he did not come. Then in the afternoon, when he was about to have his nap, the old man came and started beating at the door. He inquired who he was, and the Shaitan replied again, "An old tortured man." So he opened the door and asked him, "Didn't I tell you to come to my court yesterday, but you failed to appear? Nor did you come this morning?" To this the Shaitan answered, "Sir, my enemies are very wicked people. When they learned that you were sitting in your court and would force them to give back to me what was my due, they agreed to settle the matter out of court. But as soon as you left your court, they went back on their promise." Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl asked him again to come to his court when he was there. All this conversation continued for such a long time that he could not have his usual nap on that day also. He then went to the court and waited for the old man, who again did not turn up. The next day, again he waited for him until late in the noon, but to no avail. When he returned home on that day, he was very sleepy because of lack of sleep for the last 2 days. Therefore, he asked the family members not to allow anyone to knock at the door. The old man came again and wanted to knock at the door, but the family members stopped him, so he entered the house through a ventilator and started knocking at the door of his room. Sayyidina D. Al-Kifl got up again and saw that the old man had come inside the house while the door was still closed. So he asked him as to how he had entered the house. Then suddenly he became aware that the man standing before him was Shaitan, and asked him, "Are you the God's enemy, Iblis?" He admitted that he was Shaitan, and remarked, "You have thwarted all my plans and frustrated all my efforts to entice you in my design. My intention was to make you angry somehow, so that one of your claims before Yasa could be proved false. It was because of this episode that he was given the title D. Hul-Kifl, which means a person who is true to his covenant and performs his duties faithfully, and this title was fully deserved by him. Ibn Kathir, another narrative, is quoted in Masnad of Al-Mad but has the name of the person Al-Kifl instead of D. Hul-Kifl. That is why Ibn Kathir has observed after quoting this narrative that he was a different person and not D. Hul-Kifl, who is mentioned in this verse. The narrative is as follows. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, has reported that he had heard a hadith from the Holy Prophet not once, but more than 7 times, that there was a man by the name Kifl among the Bani Israel who did not abstain from any type of sin. Once a woman came to him, and he persuaded her to have sexual intercourse with him on payment of 60 guineas. When he got down starting the intercourse, the woman started crying and trembling. So he inquired from her as to what the matter was, because he had not used any kind of force on her. The woman replied that the cause of her distress was that she had never in all her life committed adultery, and that it was only her adverse circumstances which had forced her to agree to the act. Hearing this, the man got up and told her to go away and keep the money he had given her. He also promised her that he would never again indulge in any sin. And it so happened that he died the same night, and in the morning it was seen that there was a hidden writing on his door that Kifl had been pardoned by Allah. Ibn Kathir observed, after quoting this from Masnad of Al-Mad, that none of the 6 authentic books on hadith has reported this tradition, and its authority is weak. Even if the tradition is true, it mentioned the name as Kifl and not the Hul-Kifl, which means he was some other person. Allah knows best. The sum and substance of this story is that D. Hul-Kifl was the deputy of Prophet Yasa, and it is possible that because of his virtuous deeds his name has been mentioned along with prophets. It is also possible that initially he was the deputy of Sayyidina Yasa, and later on he was elevated to the status of a prophet by Allah Ta'ala.
And we admitted them into our mercy. Indeed, they were of the righteous.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 85, for the Tafsir.
And mention the man of the fish, when he went off in anger and thought that we would not decree anything upon him. And he called out within the darkness, there is no deity except you, exalted are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers.
Commentary. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 87, the story of Sayyidina Yunus ibn Metta appears in the Holy Quran in Surah Yunus, Surah Al-Anbiya, Surahs, Safat, and Surah Nun. At some places he is mentioned by his real name, and at others by the title as Danan or Sahihul Hut. The meaning of Nun and Hut both is fish. Thus, Danan and Sahibul Hut can be translated as man of the fish. Sayyidina Yunus remained inside the stomach of the fish for a few days in very odd circumstances by the will of Allah. It is because of this episode that he is sometimes referred to as Danan or Sahibul Hut. The story of Yunus. According to the commentary by Ibn Kathir, Sayyidina Yunus was sent to preach Allah's message among the people of Nineveh, which is a township in the region of Mosul. Sayyidina Yunus invited them towards Islam and asked them to follow the true religion and perform good deeds, but they rejected his call and behaved in an arrogant and defiant manner. Being dejected and annoyed, Yunus left the place after warning them that Allah's wrath would descend upon them within 3 days. After he had departed from the township, the people realized that his warning might come true. According to some versions, they had actually seen the signs of the impending disaster, so they repented and asked pardon for their sins, and the entire population retired to a forest with their cattle and animals. Then they started lamenting and bewailing and invoked Allah's forgiveness and protection. Allah Ta'ala accepted their sincere contrition and wailing over their sins and released them from the fear of the impending disaster. While all these events were taking place, Sayyidina Yunus waited expecting the news about the destruction of his people. But when he learned that the storm had passed and his people were safe and sound, he worried that they would regard him as a liar. According to some versions, it was customary with his people to execute a person if he was proved a liar. Majari, Sayyidina Yunus, therefore, feared for his life and decided to go away to some other place rather than returning to his own people. He came across a river on his way and boarded a boat to cross it. While crossing the river, it so happened that the boat was caught in a whirlpool and was in danger of sinking. The boatmen decided that if one of the passengers was offloaded from the boat, the chances were that the rest of them would be saved from drowning. So they cast lots to decide as to who should be offloaded. As luck would have it, they drew the name of Sayyidina Yunus. It seems that the boatmen were aware of his exalted position, and they refused to throw him in the river. The lot was drawn a second, and then a third time, and his name was drawn on both occasions. This episode has been mentioned elsewhere in the Holy Qur'an in the following words, and cast lots, and was of the rebutted surah as Safat, Ayah 141. Thereupon Sayyidina Yunus got up, took off the extra clothes which he was wearing, and threw himself in the river. Immediately a fish from the Caspian Sea arrived on the scene as commanded by Allah Ta'ala and swallowed Yunus. As reported by Ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, the fish was further commanded by Allah Ta'ala that he was not to be taken for food, that no harm was to be done to his body, both flesh and bones, and that he was only to be held as a prisoner in its stomach for a few days. Ibn Kathir, there are references in the Quran that Sayyidina Yunus earned Allah Ta'ala's displeasure when he left his people without his specific command, and his stay for a few days in the stomach of the fish was a sign of Allah's displeasure for his lapse. It is safe to assume that the warning of Sayyidina Yunus to his people about their imminent destruction within 3 days was not the outcome of his own judgment, but was based on divine revelations. Similarly, his dissociation from his people was nothing new, and was in line with the practice of other prophets in similar situations, and must therefore also have been done by the command and approval from Allah Ta'ala. So, up to this point there seems nothing to be wrong in his conduct which would deserve Allah Ta'ala's displeasure. But later on, when Allah Ta'ala accepted the genuine remorse and repentance of the people and released them from the fear of destruction, it was to be expected that Yunus would return to his people. But his decision not to return to them and go away from them was based on his own judgment. He reasoned that if he returned to them, they would regard him as a liar and his teachings would be rendered ineffectual and fruitless. There was also the danger that he might have been taken and executed. For these reasons, he was hopeful that his parting with his people would not be a reprehensible act before Allah Ta'ala. Although his decision to migrate was based on his personal judgment, ijtihad, without waiting for a clear direction from Allah Ta'ala, yet it did not constitute a sin. Nevertheless, for a prophet to take a decision on his own without waiting for the revelation from Allah Ta'ala was not liked by him. This was not a crime, but an act which was not desirable. The status of the prophets and his closed ones is highly exalted, and it is expected of them not to indulge even in such undesirable acts. The slightest lapse on their part is subjected to Allah's displeasure and reproach from him, and that is why he faced this hardship. It is quoted in Tafsir Al-Qutub from Al-Qushayri that this had happened to Yunus when the tempest was removed from his people, which was against his wish, and that his stay in the stomach of the fish for a few days was more of a reformatory measure than punishment, as sometimes people warn their young children and take reformatory measures against them. Qutubah, after learning the background of the episode, it would be easier to understand the meanings of the verses, which is as follows. He walked away in anger. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 87. It is obvious that the anger was against his own people. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has explained it as such that we will never put him to trouble. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 87. Lexically, the word has 3 different meanings. If it is derived from the meaning would be that Sayyidina Yunus imagined that Allah Ta'ala would not be able to gain mastery over him. This is obviously an unacceptable explanation, as no Muslim can ever entertain such thoughts in his mind, least of all a prophet of Allah. Alternatively, if it is considered that the word is derived from them, the meaning would be to straighten or narrow down. As the Quran says, Allah extends provision to whom He wills and straightens it. The Imams of Tafsir said Ibn Jubair, Hassan Basri, and many other scholars have adopted this interpretation, and therefore the meaning of the verse would be that Yunus thought that he would not be put in a straitened condition by Allah Ta'ala if he abandoned his people. The second explanation is adopted by most commentators, and the translation of the text as appeared above is based on it. The third possibility is that is a derivative of, in which case the verse would mean that Yunus was sure that he would not be blamed if he dissociated himself from his people. Qitada, Mujahid, and Farah have adopted this explanation.
So we responded to him and saved him from the distress, and thus do we save the believers.
The prayer of Yunus is invoked by all people at all times and for all their needs. And this is how we rescue the believers. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayat 88. That is, just as we released Yunus from his misery and distress, so do we deliver other believers when they turn towards us repenting their sins sincerely. According to a hadith of the Holy Prophet, if a Muslim prays to Allah Ta'ala for the grant of a wish in the words used by Yunus when he was in the stomach of the fish, i.e. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayat 87, he would accept his prayer and grant his wish. Allah Termid-i Mahari.
And mention Zechariah when he called to his Lord, "My Lord, do not leave me alone with no heir, while you are the best of inheritors."
Commentary. Sayyidina Zachariah wished for a son and heir for which he prayed to Allah, but at the same time he made it clear that Allah is the best heir no matter if he had a son or not. You are the best of inheritors, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 89. This was the manifestation of the prophetic respect, and that the main concern of the prophets should always be toward Allah Ta'ala, and even if someone else came into focus, their attention should not deviate from the main objective.
So we responded to him, and we gave to him John, and amended for him his wife. Indeed, they used to hasten to good deeds and supplicate us in hope and fear, and they were to us humbly submissive.
And call us with hope and fear, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 90. This may be interpreted to mean that they call Allah Ta'ala both in comfort and distress. The other explanation of the verse is that during their prayers, they remain suspended between hope and fear, hoping that Allah would forgive their sins and fearing that their lapses may bring on them His displeasure.
And mention the one who guarded her chastity, so we blew into her garment through our angel Gabriel, and we made her and her son a sign for the worlds.
Commentary. This verse directs the Holy Prophet to tell his people the story of the pious lady who controlled her passions, and then through Jibril Allah had breathed His spirit into her, and she gave birth to a son, Sayyidina Isa, who was a symbol of Allah's divine power that He can cause babies to be born without a father, and also without both the parents, as in the case of Sayyidina Adam.
Indeed, this, your religion, is one religion, and I am your Lord, so worship me.
Commentary. So far the surah deals with the stories of the prophets and several basic as well as minor principles relevant to those stories. The basic beliefs such as oneness of God, prophethood, and the day of resurrection are common to all prophets and are the foundation of their invitation to the people to follow the true faith.
And yet they divided their affair among themselves, but all to us will return.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 92 for the Tafsir.
So whoever does righteous deeds while he is a believer, no denial will there be for his effort, and indeed we of it are recorders.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 92 for the Tafsir.
And there is prohibition upon the people of a city which we have destroyed, that they will ever return.
It is banned for the people of the town we destroyed that they come back. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 95. Commentators have given two different meanings to this verse. One, that the town and its people which Allah Ta'ala has destroyed cannot come back to life. The second explanation is that it is binding on the town which Allah has destroyed that it shall not return to this world. Quotable, thus the meaning of the verse is that the door of repentance is closed after death, and it is no more possible for someone to return to this world and atone for his sins by performing righteous deeds. The final court will take place on the Day of Judgment.
Until when the dam of Gog and Magog has been opened, and they, from every elevation, descend.
Until when the Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog and Magog, are released, while they run down from every height. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 96. In the previous verse it was said that those who die in a state of unbelief will never return to this world. The phrase "until the Ya'juj and Ma'juj appear" really means that such people will never return, because the appearance of Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be a sign of near approach of the doomsday. It is reported in Sahih of Muslim through Sayyidina Hudhayfa, may Allah be pleased with him, that he and some other Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with him, were in the midst of a discussion when the Holy Prophet came to them and inquired as to what were they deliberating. They replied that they were discussing about the Qiyamah, doomsday. Thereupon he said that Qiyamah will occur only after 10 signs have become manifest, and the appearance of Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be one of them. Here the word release is used for Ya'juj Ma'juj, which means to let loose, which suggests that until the appointed time they will remain under restraint and confined behind some barrier from which they will be released when doomsday is near. It is evident from the Holy Qur'an that this restraint is the wall made by Dhul-Qarnayn, which will disappear near the Qiyamah. Ya'juj and Ma'juj and Dhul-Qarnayn have been described in fair detail in Surah Al-Kahf, to which the reader may refer. While they run down from every height. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 96. The word means an elevated place, which may be a mountain or just a lump in the ground. We have also seen in Surah Al-Kahf that the place where Ya'juj and Ma'juj have been confined is somewhere beyond the northern mountains. So when they will come out, they will be seen rushing down the mountain sides in their hordes.
And when the true promise has approached, then suddenly the eyes of those who disbelieved will be staring in horror, while they say, "O woe to us! We had been unmindful of this. Rather, we were wrongdoers."
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 96, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, you disbelievers, and what you worship other than Allah are the firewood of hell. You will be coming to enter it.
Surely, you and whatever you worship other than Allah are the fuel of Jahannam. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 98. Here a question may arise as to the application of this verse to the case of Say, Ibn Masih, Say, Ibn Uzair, and angels who were also worshipped by some people. According to account given by Qutb in his Tafsir, this issue was adequately resolved by Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, who wondered that there is a verse in the Quran about which people have reservations, yet they do not question him about it. He went on to say that this may be due to the fact that either the people have found a convincing answer to their doubts, or that they are totally indifferent and do not consider the matter important enough for any kind of investigation. When people asked him which particular verse he had in mind, he recited the verse and went on to say that when this verse was revealed, it made the unbelievers of Quraysh very angry because they felt that it offended their gods. So they approached Ibn al-Ibarra, a scholar of the scriptures, and complained to him about it. He said that if he were present there, he would have given them a reply which would have confounded all of them. Pressed further, he said that he would have asked them what they thought about Say, Ibn Masih, and about Say, Ibn Uzair, who were worshipped by the Christians and the Jews respectively, meaning whether they too would be sent to hell. The unbelievers of Quraysh were delighted to hear this, and were sure that Muhammad would have no answer to their question.
Had these false deities been actual gods, they would not have come to it, but all are eternal therein.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 98, for the Tafsir.
For them therein is heavy sighing, and they therein will not hear.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 98, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, those for whom the best reward has proceeded from us, they are from it far removed.
At that point Allah Ta'ala revealed the verse, "Surely, those for whom the good news from us has come earlier shall be kept far away from it." Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 101, that is, those for whom our grace and good result is ensured, will be kept away from hell. And for the same Ibn al-Ibarra, Allah Ta'ala has revealed this Quranic verse, Surah Az-Zukhruf, Ayah 57, that is, when Ibn al-Ibarra put forward the example of Sayyidah Maryam, the people of his clan, Quraysh, were overtaken by joy.
They will not hear its sound while they are, in that which their souls desire, abiding eternally.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 101, for the Tafsir.
They will not be grieved by the greatest terror, and the angels will meet them saying, "This is your day which you have been promised."
They will not be grieved by the biggest panic. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 103. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has said that the biggest panic refers to the second call of the horn, when all the dead will assemble to give an account of their actions in the world. Some others have said that the biggest panic is the first call of the horn. Ibn al-Arabi has said that the horn will be blown thrice. The first call will be which will put everyone into utter confusion, and is referred to here as the biggest panic. The second call will be when everyone will die. The third call will be when all the dead will be resurrected. This version derives support from a hadith of Abu Hurairah, which has been quoted in Musnad Abu Ya'la and Bayhaqi, Abd ibn Humayd, Abu al-Shaykh, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, etc. Majari.
The day when we will fold the heaven like the folding of a written sheet for the records. As we began the first creation, we will repeat it. That is a promise binding upon us. Indeed, we will do it.
The day when we roll up the sky like a scroll rolls up the writings. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 104. According to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, the word means a sheet of a book. Ali ibn Abi Talha, Afi, Mujahid, Kadada, Ibn Jarir, and Ibn Kathir have all adopted the same meaning of the word. The word in the verse is used for that as something written. So the meaning of the verse is that the sky will be rolled up like a scroll with its writings. Ibn Kathir, Sahih al-Bukhari contains a story on the authority of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar. May Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet said that on the Day of Judgment Allah Ta'ala would roll up all the 7 skies and the 7 worlds along with all the created things thereon in his hand, and all of them together would be no more than a grain of rye in his hand. Ibn Kathir.
And we have already written in the book of Psalms after the previous mention that the land of paradise is inherited by my righteous servants.
And we have written in Zabur Psalms, after the Dhikr, the Torah, that the land will be inherited by my righteous slaves. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 105. The word Zabur is the plural of Zubur, which means book. It is also the name of the book which was revealed to Sayyidina Dawud. Opinions differ as to the meaning of the word in the present context. According to a version attributed to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, the word in the verse refers to Torah and to all other books revealed after Torah, i.e. Zabur, Psalms, Injil, Evangel, and Quran. Ibn Jarir. The same explanation is adopted by Dahak. However, Ibn Zayd has explained that refers to the preserved tablet and relates to all the books which were revealed to the prophets. Zaydkaj has also adopted this explanation. Ra'ul Ma'ani, the word land in Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 105. All commentators agree that the word in this verse refers to the land of paradise. Ibn Jarir has reported this explanation from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. The same explanation is also adopted by Mujahid, Ibn Jubair, Ikrimah, Sadi, and Ab al-Aliyah. Imam Razi has said that another verse of the Holy Quran supports this explanation. The verse is, and has bequeathed upon us the earth for us to make our dwelling wheresoever we will in paradise. Surah Az-Zumar, Ayah 74. The words used in the verse that the pious will inherit the means land of paradise, because the land of the earth can be inherited by all, whether believers or non-believers. Also the phrase that the pious will inherit the land follows the mention of Qiyamah, and it is well known that after the Qiyamah there will be no land of the earth, but only the land of the paradise. Another version of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says that the word means just land, and includes both the land of the earth as well as of paradise. It is quite obvious that the land of the paradise will be inherited by the pious people. As for the land of the world, also, it is stated in the Holy Quran at several places that there will be a time when the entire land of the world will belong to the pious believers. One of such verses, surely the land belongs to Allah. He lets whomsoever He wills from among His slaves inherit it, and the end result is in favor of the God-fearing. Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 128. In another verse it is said, Allah has promised those of you who believe and do good deeds that He will certainly make them His vicegerents in the land. Surah An-Nur, Ayah 55. Yet another verse says, surely we shall help our messengers and those who have believed in the present life and upon the day when the witnesses arise. Surah Ghafir, Ayah 51. The history has already witnessed the control of the pious believers over the better part of the world, and it will again come under their control during the time of Sayyidina Mahdi, may Allah be pleased with him. Ra'ul Ma'ani Ibn Kathir.
Indeed, in this Quran is notification for a worshipping people.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 105 for the Tafsir.
And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds.
Commentary. And we have not sent you but as mercy for all the worlds. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107, is plural of which means world and includes all creatures including humans, animals, plants, jinns, etc. In order to properly understand the meaning of the verse, one should also understand that the true essence of the entire universe is the invocation of Allah Ta'ala and His worship. When this essence departs from this world and no one is left to worship Allah, everything in it will perish. In other words, that is the day when Qiyamah would occur. When it is understood that the invocation and worship of Allah Ta'ala is the essence of all living things, then the reason for describing the Holy Prophet as mercy to the worlds becomes obvious, because it is his teachings and the purity of his personal life alone which keep alive the worship of Allah Ta'ala until Qiyamah. That is why he declared, I am the blessing sent by Allah. Ibn Asakir, quoting Abu Hurairah, Sayyidina Ibn Umar, has reported that the Holy Prophet said, that is, I am the blessing sent by Allah, so that I lift up the people who obey Allah and humble the other people who disobey Allah. Ibn Kathir It therefore follows that performing jihad against the unbelievers in order to lessen shirk and kufr, unbelief, and in the hope of reclaiming those who transgress the divine commands of Allah Ta'ala is an act of mercy.
Say, it is only revealed to me that your God is but one God. So will you be Muslims in submission to Him?
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107 for the Tafsir.
But if they turn away, then say, I have announced to all of you equally, and I know not whether near or far is that which you are promised.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107 for the Tafsir.
Indeed, He knows what is declared of speech, and He knows what you conceal.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107 for the Tafsir.
And I know not. Perhaps it is a trial for you and enjoyment for a time.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107 for the Tafsir.
The Prophet has said, My Lord, judge between us in truth, and our Lord is the most merciful, the one whose help is sought against that which you describe.
See Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107 for the Tafsir.